right. Welcome to the Hoops Rehab Show on a Thursday night. How you doing, Eric?
Doing pretty good, man. By yourself?
Yeah, man. Getting ready for the holiday season. I think everybody's ready for that Thanksgiving week. Spend some time with the family and get some good food. So there's that.
Yes, sir. Can't believe it. And some football, of course, on Thanksgiving.
Always. You see those Bills tonight, Eric?
Yeah. Ooh.
Told you about them. They even though Texans
tried
have a pretty good D. So
yeah, Texans have won a few in a row. Obviously, without CJ
Stroud.
CJ Stroud. Yeah. Stroud's concussion protocol. So yeah, their defense is definitely getting them some W's all of a sudden.
Pretty legit. All right, guys. So I am the Game Injury Doc, aka Dr. Evan Jeffries. On my right is Eric B. Mack. We are the host of the Hoops Rehab Show. We have a YouTube page that if you are on there live, please hit that subscribe button. It is the Hoops Rehab Show. Please subscribe on there. Then we also have our Instagram page where it's the same thing, the Hoops Rehab Show. And after this show, we'll be uploading the pod. So wherever you get your pod, please download the Hoops Rehab Show. And then please subscribe to it. I'll put the auto download on and rate and comment. All right, Eric. Let's get this show cracking. A little bit of Lakers talk, a little bit of the talk around the league about all the injuries that are happening in the first month. But I really wanted to get into the news that broke today that Joey and Jesse Buss have been let go from their position as board members, as their position of the Lakers front office, scouting department, and they let go of the scouting department. What were your first thoughts on that? And did you see that coming?
Well, I don't know if I saw it coming, but so the sale was official October 30th. So obviously we had heard about it early in the summer, and it just took some time to kind of get the pieces together, and it was finalized again, like I said, October 30th. So it took all of 21 days for kind of the first big splash from the Mark Walter group, and so I know exactly. It's his show now, and it's it was a little bit of a I guess I don't know if it's a surprise that all this is inevitable, right? It's new leadership, and so a new regime. I just think the timing was definitely interesting, right? Just kind of getting into the season, whatnot, and so I know when he purchased the Dodgers, at least from a GM, Ned Colletti was the GM, and he was there for a couple of years, I believe. But this is a little different because Mark Walters was a minority owner for some time, so he kind of already was seeing how things were working there, right? I think that's the big difference between the two situations. But yeah, definitely, a surprise in terms of the timing. What about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I guess all we heard was that Jeannie Buss was going to stay on as governor for the foreseeable future, but you never really heard anything about anybody else, right? So I guess I'm not necessarily surprised by the firing. I'm kind of a little surprised by the timing of it. I thought they would at least give out this whole year and just kind of finish it off and kind of redo things in the summer, because that would just make the most sense out of it. Yeah. But I did find it pretty somewhat shocking from the Buss brothers' kind of responses. They said Dr. Buss's idea was for Joey and I to run basketball operations one day. Jeannie Buss told ESPN, or this is Jesse Buss told ESPN, referring to their father, but Jeannie has effectively kept herself in place with her siblings being fired. So that was kind of telling. I mean, there's obviously still some drama between Jeannie and her brothers, and we've obviously seen the drama between her and her older brothers, but now these are the younger brothers.
Yeah.
What do you make of kind of Jeannie, I guess, getting close with Mark Walter, and you kind of see him interacting more, and they trying to stay in that kind of limelight, or the brothers just crying for nothing?
I think it's definitely interesting. We had heard that a genie was going to hang on for some time, and you never know, that could end, quick too. Obviously not as quick as this happened, but I don't know. You kind of just somewhat, for some reason, maybe figured it was like a little bit of a package deal. Obviously, we had heard that when the sale was going down, that it was going to be a vote, from all the siblings, and there's 6 of them, correct? And so there's you got 6 people and multi-billion-dollar business. At the end of the day, like, it's just probably not going to always go smooth. And then you have like the Joey and Jesse and kind of the older brothers, like they're kind of from different eras too, which is interesting, right? But yeah, I think I think there probably talk about it, but there were some rumors that Joey and Jesse were kind of the naysayers in the votes, and maybe they saw something like this coming. Obviously can't feel terrible for them because they got their payday, but yeah, it's I mean, we saw it with Dallas, with Mark Cuban, like where it seemed like he was going to have some say for some time, and that fizzled pretty quick. So you just truly never know. I'm sure Genie is good for a year or so, but I can't imagine, like, after a few 2 to 3 years or so, I think we could see the same thing, and it could be kind of a mutual thing as well. But yeah, it's pretty just crazy how it's all gone down.
Yeah, and you look at the job that Joey and Jesse did. I mean, they were able to find some gems in the draft, and then also just like as undrafted players and free agents. Those are the likes of Austin Reeves, Alex Caruso, Kyle Kuzma, Jordan Clarkson, Larry Nance Jr., Max Christie, just kind of guys that weren't like the household name, but they made a face and a name. I mean, Josh Hart, right? These guys were players that were kind of grew up with the Lakers, and then obviously went and did their own thing and became pretty good players throughout the league. So, I mean, they did a great job of scouting. So that's one thing they kind of feel a little, I felt like as anybody in the Buss family, they were pretty skilled at that, right? Compared to some of the other Buss family there. So I thought they did a pretty damn good job for the time being when they were there.
Yeah, I think that that's part of like how I just mentioned, like the different, obviously the boys here, or the guys, Joey, Jesse, a little younger, probably more analytical, use more data, obviously had their team there of scouts. And so they probably saw things a little different than the older siblings that were used to how like their father built teams, right? And just kind of on, intuition and obviously getting the top free agent and things like that. And so, yeah, he can't take away from some of the things they did, right? I mean, obviously not every decision was great, and that also falls on GM, president of basketball, but that's, probably on every team. You're going to have some, you look back and like, oh man, didn't make this right decision there, right? And you're going to see some guys that were like, wow, like you really found a diamond in the rough, especially with like an Austin Reeves. And so, yeah. And then obviously there's like the player development part of it too. So some of these guys weren't, rock stars right off the bat, but, that has to have to, do with some of like their success with that as well.
For sure. And, when you think about what Jesse Buss was the assistant general manager, right? So now you got Rob Pelinka, who is the president, the GM, and essentially nobody under him. I mean, I'm sure there's some other people that we don't know, like some names that are, helping him out and assistant to the assistant and all that stuff. But that does make you wonder. Rob's all there by himself right now. So I can imagine, I mean, obviously the money that Mark Walter put into this team, they're going to invest into the scouting department. They're going to invest into management. So I'd imagine at some point there's going to be a president that comes in, or they're going to hire somebody that he wants there besides just Rob Pelinka, because Rob Pelinka was essentially a Buss hire, right? That is everything written about it. Kobe's guy, everything he's done with the Lakers organization over the last 20 years. And I think eventually, it looks great right now because the Lakers are doing so well. They got Luka; he's done a great job. But it only takes one little slip up, and Rob's not going to have a safe job. But for right now, I think he's going to be there. But there's going to be, I expect them to go out this summer and hire somebody pretty credible in some sort of position to probably get more analytics, get more type of things like that way they do the Dodgers. And I wouldn't be surprised if you see like a bigger name or somebody that's up and coming, or even maybe somebody coming from baseball, right? Because he's had all these guys come from the Dodgers that run the analytics over there.
Yeah, I mean, right now it seems like a kind of not much of a like front office, right? But just knowing how Mark Walters work, and if you can compare it to the Dodgers, I mean, sure, right? Andrew Friedman is like the face of it, but they got like a huge team of guys and gals there that are kind of running things. So I would assume it's going to be similar, like, but on a basketball, a little bit different of a scale. Now, granted, baseball, you got your major league team, which is 40-man roster. You got your minor league squads, right? So there's a lot more scouting, I guess, right, if you will, because you got to just build bigger teams.
100%.
So I think it's going to be relative to it, but yeah, I think like you hit, like you said, we're going to probably hear a big name and maybe some crossover guys, from the Dodgers that will have a say in kind of what's going to happen. And yeah, we'll see. Obviously, when Lakers got Luka, it just changed a lot. Like if we were still here with LeBron and AD, and I mean,
If it was still AD on this team right now, it'd just be such a different direction.
Yeah,
because obviously, I don't think the Lakers would have ended up. Well, they were doing pretty well kind of into that season, I think, under JJ Redick, right? But I just don't think in the long term Lakers would have had that momentum kind of going into the playoffs like they did last year, and then going into this season, absolutely not, right? I think LeBron and probably would have maybe pushed to be more out in that way because they keep running back at that point. I don't think it would have worked.
Yeah, no, like you mentioned. I mean, I hope and I anticipate JJ is like for the long haul. But I mean,
he signed the extension right earlier in the year, so
that's right. That's right.
Pretty locked up, at least pretty locked up with Luka. So
yeah, that's a pretty good sign. And so, I mean, everybody that's there, including LeBron, it's all the former regime, and so, like you said, obviously the Lakers are doing pretty good right now, so you don't want to fix something that's not broken per se, but you could just tell it's like, and so it starts. You could say, changes are coming.
I think the Lakers will look vastly different in 5 years from now, as far as a management position. And then, I mean, hopefully Luka's still here and doing this thing, but I just think overall as a collective whole, they'll just look totally different. And that brings me to my next question is, how long is Jeannie staying? Like, what's that going to look like? Is she carving her way to kind of stay, or does she want to get out?
I think it's gonna be apparent, to her and just probably everyone there as like this year kind of goes by, and then maybe next year, like where she's probably gonna notice like a little bit of a shift, right? We're kind of want to put our stamp on kind of this team, and so. I mean, if I just had to guess, like I would say maybe the rest of this season, maybe the next, and then I think it'll kind of that might be it. And I think, and I'm not saying it's he's gonna get her out of there. It could just be like a mutual thing, as I mentioned earlier. I like you said, in 5 years, I don't think there's any way that she's still around with the Lakers in 5 years.
No, I can see her. Staying through LeBron and then maybe one more year after this. And then I think it's going to be a total different kind of regime. And they're going to get some sort of person at a high level position in the president type of role besides Rob, I think.
Yeah. And not to downplay like what she's obviously meant to the team and what she does, but sure. I do wonder what she's doing. Like obviously I don't think she's in the like kind of basketball decision making, right? I mean, maybe she puts in her 2 cents, but
yeah, it's like I guess who at this point has final say on a trade, right? Because it always still has to go to the owner, right?
yeah,
Mark Dumont had to sign off on the Luka trade, right? So I guess that still would be Jeannie, and then obviously they would be consulting Mark Walter about it. Obviously, he's gonna have a say on it. But I guess who makes that decision, right? Like that's what it boils down to. Is Jeannie still making those decisions like that?
yeah, no, it's true. And then you got Magic in the wings, probably.
That's what's Magic going to be back in the fold.
I know,
Drafting
and
Lonzo
with him and Rob, it didn't quite work out or whatnot. So, it all just depends. As far as Rob goes, it just depends how the team does the next few years, right?
Sure,
I mean, that's what it's going to come down to.
And to be honest, Rob has done a tremendous job as Lakers GM. Like, I mean, when it's all said and done, he's gotten AD, he's gotten Luka. They were able to get Austin Reeves. They've gotten these players, these foundational players, and obviously dating back to getting LeBron, right? That's still a big part of getting LeBron. So he's gotten 3 mega stars on this Lakers team. So he's going to be he's solidified, and he's got an extension as well. So, I don't think anything really happens with them unless they just go on a downward spiral and they're not making the playoffs with Luka or something like that. That would be the big axe position there.
Oh yeah. If it's kind of a couple seasons in a row, we're just not getting things right after LeBron leaves and not getting the right personnel to kind of fit in with Luka and whatnot, and that's exactly. I mean, and especially being on the Lakers with Laker fans and all that, and not going to hear the end of it. So, sure. It's again, not like surprising that this is kind of going down, because it seems to be the trend. Like look what happened with Dallas. But it's just a little different because it's a whole it's like a bunch of siblings, versus Mark Cuban and just one individual and whatnot. So, but yep, new ownership, man, decide what they want to do.
Yep, for sure. All right, so if you guys have any comments on that, see what the Lakers should be doing, or what your thoughts are on the firing of the Bus brothers, be kind of interested in that. We'll get to those comments there. And I see Cam over here saying the Lakers are hiring Nico. I mean, pretty much we got him fired and we got what we needed out of Nico. Yeah. But would be pretty funny to him and Rob kind of run the show.
He's almost on our payroll anyways,
I mean, he must have been at that point. Yeah. All right, so wanted to switch subjects here. It's become apparent that injuries are a little bit up this year to begin the season in the NBA. In the first month, you got multiple superstars that are out, right? We got Wemby, who just went down with the calf strain. Giannis went down with the groin strain. You've had, obviously, LeBron out from the beginning of the season with sciatica, and so on, right? So you can go Jalen Brunson, sprained ankle. You can go on and on about there's at least 1 or 2 players on each team that are getting injured. Now, a lot of these injuries are a lot of soft tissue nature, right? So why is that? But I wanted to get into some comments that Steve Kerr kind of brought up, and he was talking. He was just talking about all the injuries around the league because they just played the Spurs. They had Steph kind of go down with the ankle. Jimmy Butler's been a little banged up. Kuminga's been banged up. So they've had a lot of injuries themselves, and they're kind of struggling right now. Now, he brought up his concerns were that the league is at a faster pace. There's increased mileage. There's a compressed schedule. Players are running faster and further than they ever have before. And I kind of wanted to break that down a little bit. But were you able to see his comments, and what were your kind of thoughts initially with that?
Yeah, I saw some snippets of it, and we were talking off air a little bit. I mean, I think some of it's true. I mean, you do got to think though. There's some eras, like for example, the '80s was just totally up and down, run and gun. Just high scoring affairs, and so the 90s was just completely different from the 80s, and we know that, right? Physical, defensive, half court, right? Grinded out, and so gotta say it's kind of probably all relative, but yes, obviously the athletes today, no matter what some of the old heads say, they're obviously just players are just there's just more players that are in great shape, and there's a lot of really good players. But I don't know. It's weird. I mean, the one thing I don't know about the compressed schedule, because I mean it's been 82 games for some time now,
for sure,
and it is a little bit more spread out now actually than ever. So I don't know if I agree with
you remember the 3 back-to-backs,
back to back, right? So I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, all I know is it more injuries, or is it similar amount of injuries, but people are like, we're hearing more of a diagnosis now these days. There's more information out there. Our players not in the past, maybe they would play, and I'm not saying like, oh, they got like should toughen up and play. I'm just kind of throwing some things out there where is it possibly that like, are we, obviously you and I have been doing this show since like last March, like obviously are we following it a little bit more now? I know you've been kind of doing it for a few years, following injuries. So, but if Steve Kerr, and there's a lot of conversation about it, so it must not be that. But I don't know. I mean, it's just probably a combination of things, but these guys are just freak athletes right now. The one thing I do wonder is like, are these injuries, a lot of them come like from the defensive end or the offensive end? That's just always I tend to think about.
Yeah, I wanted to kind of visit that thought there, that are there more injuries now than before or not, right? Like, I think a lot of it is that how much we see, and technology we have now, and everybody's on Twitter and everybody's throwing out stuff that you kind of see that goes viral, or you see the tweet and then everybody knows about it, right? So I think we're just seeing that more often. There's actually less injuries this year than there were last year at this time. So I saw that the other day.
Oh,
so
wow.
That's one thing to like. We feel like there's a lot of injuries, but necessarily it's not.
Seems like more this year, but
so that's one thing, right? Now, when you look at pace of play, Eric, do you know what year was the most pace of play, highest pace of play in the NBA was, Eric?
Tell us.
1961-62. They had a average of 128 possessions per game, a rate that has not been seen since. You know what Wilt Chamberlain was doing during those years? Scoring 50 points and 27 rebounds. So they essentially were running up and down the court faster than ever, faster than these guys right now, right? Highly doubt there's a bunch of guys sitting out games all the time, right? They just need to play. There's a different pay structure, so it's not like if you're sitting out, like you didn't want to lose your spot, things like that. So we can go on and on about that. I think the thing that Steve Kerr kind of brought up the most, or it kind of was getting to, was space of play. I think that has changed. The amount of coverage that you have to run on a court is totally different than just running straight line up and down, right? So now guys are going from the paint to have to go to a guy in the corner, to another three, to this three. So they're running all throughout the court versus just up and down the court. So I think that right there alone, they're running, I think, the most mileage so far this season that they've ever run in a game. Right, they're averaging, I think it's like 3.4 miles per game. So that's pretty high. I think the average last year for the highest person was like 2.9. So that's definitely changed. You see a lot of ball movement, a lot of threes. So players have to run to every position. So I think that can cause a lot of strain on the body. And that would make more sense for some of the soft tissue injuries, because you're trying to go out there, decelerate and stop somebody at a certain position, getting stretched out at another position. So I can see that being an issue, more than actual pace, but more the space of play has changed.
Yeah, I mean that could totally be it. I mean, there's kind of the few things that come to mind compared to 1961 and 62 that have really changed the game, in my opinion. So one is the obvious, the 3-point line, right? There was no 3-point line at that time. There was a 3-point shot in the 70s, 80s, 90s, to the 2000s, right? But I mean, we know where people are pulling up from, and you damn better get a hand on people's face, because more players are shooting the 3 ball more than ever. I mean, you're almost like 80% of the league, I guarantee it. It probably can hit the 3 ball with regularity. So I think that is what's making that spacing just really tough. And then you have, like, obviously in the past, like, you had 10 seconds to bring the ball, past half court. Now it's 8 seconds. So that kind of speeds things up. And then lastly, when you get an offensive rebound, right, you could reset, 24-second clock, right? Now it just goes to 14. And so I think, like, just the combination of things like that, it just heightens the just the possession, and just like Steve Kerr and you were saying, you're just making those movements that you're probably, your body, even though you're in tip top shape, it's just not meant to be that way. So, but pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah, that's a good point. Cause I look back, we grew up in the 90s. Like, that was our generation when we came to age to really watch basketball. And it's like, man, looking at those point guards that were just walking the ball up, it's like 10 seconds. Then they got another 5 seconds. Then they're calling, like, for a pick and roll. And then they're just throwing into the post.
Barkley backing down.
Remember the 5 second rule?
Yeah.
Right. So if you look at the amount of movement in that game is nothing compared to the amount of movement that is right now. So I think that has changed for sure. That style of play, change of pace, and things like that is definitely a factor. I think number 2, the Euro influence with the Euro step and kind of these moves that they're making now than they used to not make before. Yeah. So every time somebody's taking like a Euro step, every time you're landing on that one leg, you have to be able to decelerate that motion and control it with your muscles in order to not let that joint take all the force, right? And so, like, sometimes that gets a little wonky when you get thrown off your balance, right? Somebody pushes you, or you get fatigued as you're going into the third, fourth quarter, and then somebody pushes you off balance, and then boom, there goes that knee because you weren't able to kind of like load it properly because you're making these significant different moves than you made in the past. So I think that's another thing to look at, is just that the style of play has changed a lot.
Yeah, no, it's obviously the like Euro basketball, the influence it's had all over the world now, and so we're getting different skill sets from folks, and that is just has to be adding up to it, and so we'll see. I mean, you got to figure something's got to give, and then sorry, I didn't really bring it up, but I also think it's that, like, what have you done for me in the playoffs culture? And then the championship culture, right? Because we know the playoffs, if you make it to the finals, it's 2 months, right? And it's another mini season. And so we always talk about it, right? Like, when we're talking about LeBron, man, we just, maybe a good thing he missed 14, 15 games. Like, we just need him ready for the playoffs, right? That's just the comments that are always made. Let's not risk someone getting kind of like severely injured, where they could miss a week or two early in the season, because it doesn't matter what he does early in the season. Because if he's great in the regular season and he does shitty in the playoffs, it's all that's going to be talked about is how shitty he is in the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
So, like, as a player, you're like, screw that. Like, I'm going to be as healthy as I can be when it matters, quote unquote, the most, right? And so I think that's potentially part of it too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when you think about teams now, I think they're easily ruling out players longer right away versus being like their day-to-day, right? Yeah. So, like, Wemby out a couple weeks, and you don't necessarily know how severe the calf strain was. And that game, it's not like you saw him leave with a calf strain. He finished the game. He had the crazy dunk on Draymond. They were battling the whole night. You never saw him like limping or anything. And then all of a sudden he has a calf strain, right? So I think he's probably on the more the lower end of it, but they're being as cautious as possible because they don't want to make it a long-term injury. So I think teams are actually ruling out players from that side versus back in the day where it's like, hey, where's my guy? You got sprained his ankle. Is he going to be playing tomorrow night? You better make sure he's playing tomorrow night, right? That's how it was before. And I think now, just these guys are making so much money. They're trying to conserve him for the playoff run, like you said. So I think there's a lot of that too going on. So
Yeah. I mean, somebody exactly like in the past, somebody like that, like it just probably wouldn't happen. Like if you saw somebody like, oh, they're questionable for a game, and then they end up playing, you're like, you don't even like think twice about it. But when you just like right off the bat, all right, it's out 2 weeks, and again, social media, like having someone that's at the game that's reporting it can like tweet right away that, oh, they're kind of suffering with some soreness, versus like in the past, you would write it in a news article and you wouldn't come out to the morning paper, right? Or whatever, or come in the morning paper. So it's so different. I mean, it's just a combination of things. So I think players are getting injured more, but then also it's a mix of, in the past, maybe we wouldn't have heard about it because they probably wouldn't have missed games, maybe.
Yeah.
So
yeah, 100%. And then lastly, I just want to kind of get to the practice schedule. And that's something that I feel that has been an issue from all along, right? Mm-hmm. Like these players are just not practicing anymore. And I remember Paul George talked about this on his podcast like a year or two ago, talking about load management, which load management became a thing, about 5-10 years ago. And now the NBA came out and said that they had more injuries during load management. So obviously it did not work. But what Paul George said is that essentially not only were they load managing the games, but they weren't practicing, right? So now you're essentially not loading the body at all. So the body is not adapting to the load and stress that it needs in an NBA game because you're trying to manage that. And the way the body works is that the more you load it, it's Wolff's Law. The more you load, the ground loads the force back at you, and you start to develop bone adaptation that makes your bone actually stronger and makes your muscle stronger. And then eventually you're at a stronger position there. So I think that's why you hear all these old heads talking about how, no, we just practiced, we ran, we did this, we did that. And our bodies always were ready to go in a game because we felt strong, we felt prepared. And now it's like the Lakers couldn't even find a way to get LeBron a practice without assigning him to the G League. And then finally they got back from the road trip and were able to have their first full practice of the season, which is insane to say, like almost 14 games into the season that we haven't had a real practice. Like what the hell is that? Like spread out the games a little bit so you can actually get practice time in. That to me makes no sense. And I think that's one of the biggest problems that they're having.
Yeah, no, such a good point. I think anything you do in life, like the more you do it, just the like better you're going to be and more equipped. And if you take a break from it and you don't do it as much, you're going to struggle to kind of ramp up, if you will, to especially like in basketball, NBA, like the highest level of competition, where it's like, I mean, I get the rest, and obviously don't want to risk, the risk to injuries and stuff like that, like when they put it in the preseason and whatnot. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, the only way to kind of spread out the season is obviously to make the season longer, or to shorten that regular season, which I just shortening a regular season, probably, I don't know if it'll happen, just because there's a lot of dollars involved in those kind of decisions, right? And so yeah, it'll be interesting to see if this is just something that's just a new norm and we just got to kind of roll with it, or if there's something that's gonna change.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's an interesting topic that you can go on and there's so many layers to it. We didn't even get into the fact that these players in the youth are specializing, which I think we're starting to get those players into the NBA now. The ones that are not cross-training like everybody did before, we're getting people that are more specialized into sports, into their sport, like basketball, right? So I think this is just like a never-ending conversation, and I think it's super hard to manage in a way of saying, no matter what, you're going to have injuries in sports. Look at football, look at every contact sport, anything that's going on, you're going to have injuries. But there's got to be a way that we can make it more ideal for the athlete moving forward.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I wish we could hear, I mean, he's probably talked about it, but like somebody like LeBron, who's like obviously played in a couple different eras now, and it'd be interesting to hear, his take on just the difference of when he was playing in 05, 06, 07.
Oh yeah. Hopefully, when he's
he'll-
all said and done, he'll come on and talk about that type of stuff. I don't know if he's gonna come on our podcast. That's where we want to.
Yeah.
But I'm saying in general,
Come on over.
Talk about those subjects like that would be pretty awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Because he would be like just one person, and obviously he's a physical specimen, and so a lot of his injuries have been like later in his career, a couple freak things, versus. But yeah, that would be somebody that could probably tell you firsthand what the difference is in the last 23 years. So, but yeah, we'll see
for sure. All right, and then lastly, you want to get to another big name injury in this league, and that's Domantas Sabonis, who is now out with a meniscus tear. He'll be reevaluated in about 3 to 4 weeks. I think the big thing here is that, with the meniscus tear, it's like, all right, you're going to try to rehab it for the first month and make sure he can kind of get through and do all the things he needs to without pain. And if it's something that pain continues, then that's something that he might have to get taken care of by surgery. So you're hoping that he can rehab this conservatively and be okay, but you never know with these type of tears or how bad the tear is or where the tear is and what type of tear. So I think they'll try to at least rehab it and figure out if he can get back here. But the Kings are 3-13, Eric, and they have lost 8 consecutive games by double digits.
Man, poor Kings. They had so many just bad years, and it all came to a head. That one season they were the 3 seed, had a nice playoff series with the Warriors, young team. You think they're kind of up and coming. Have just really just been slipping ever since. It kind of fell off the last 2 seasons, and then this season it just completely fell off the wagons. And so I think that's part of it. I mean, having a really bad record, it's like probably not going to rush him back at the same time, So
yeah,
that's just another injury.
When you think about the Kings, they have traded Tyrese Halliburton, De'Aaron Fox. Their front office has just mismanaged almost everything with that team and with the new owner. And who knows if Doug Christie is at fault right now as being a coach, but, he is a new coach and it's the first time really being a head coach. You're looking at a guy like Mike Brown that gets you the 3 seed and then all of a sudden he's fired. Right. So and of course he gets hired by a big franchise like the Knicks, right? Because he is a hell of a coach. So it's I just don't know necessarily what this team is doing. And I don't want to say it, but who's on that team too, right?
Who is that even?
Westbrook.
Oh, I was gonna say Zach LaVine and
God, I forget. They have Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan, don't they?
Yeah, right.
How?
I don't even know if they're playing or they.
Oh my God. Yeah. So it's bad news for the Kings. It got worse with the injury, but I just don't know where they honestly go from here. They got it.
The Grizzlies beat them. The Grizzlies beat them 137-96 tonight. So
we still don't know the coach of the Grizzlies.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, LaVine played tonight, so he's playing 26 points.
Did DeMar DeRozan playing?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Only 15 minutes, but I don't know what happened there. But Westbrook, a minus 28 for Westbrook. Yeah.
Yeah. So looking pretty bad over there in Sacramento. I don't think they'll be ringing or whatever. What was it? Shine the light?
Beam.
Like the beam. They're not going to be doing that like they've been doing in the past couple of years. So seemed pretty quiet in Sacktown there. All right. And then we got this last little comment here. Are the Lakers going to get Giannis? Kareem, I think the Lakers will always find a way to get a superstar. We've seen that year after year, starting with Shaq. We got obviously lucky to draft Kobe. Then you're getting LeBron. You're trading for AD, trading for Luka. Likely in the next couple of years, when Giannis is a free agent, Lakers are going to be trying to aim for him. And we've seen the whole plan for 27, right? And that's because there's going to be likes of Giannis, there's going to be likes of Joker. There's going to be these players that they're going to want to pair with Luka. So, do they have a chance to get him? Absolutely. I just don't know if Giannis is going to want to come to LA.
Yeah, good question. I mean, I think one thing you can, nothing is a safe bet. We saw what happened with the Luka trade, but they are going to be careful about trading with the Lakers. But yeah, I do think if Giannis, if eventually he does come, it probably would be through free agency. In 27, I think that would be the only opportunity that would actually happen. Which, it's technically around the corner, right? So not this summer, but the summer after.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Eric.
Thanks,
got anything left for the show there?
That's it, man.
All right, man. All right, guys. So we are out tonight, and we'll be back on usually in the next couple of days. But until then, the Hoops Rehab Show is out. Peace out, guys.
Peace.